My purpose in life is to leave my dent in the universe in absolutely everything I do, as well as to inspire and help others do the same. For someone to leave their dent in my life is a privilege. For me to leave my dent in someone else's life is an honor. But to inspire and help others leave their own dent in the universe is an indescribable feeling. I plan on doing this through this podcast by celebrating my guests and inspiring my listeners, all while leaving my own dent in the universe and helping others do the same. My name is Fer Andrade, and this is Denting. All right, let's do it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Denting. That feels so good to say. Today, I have a very special guest, someone who I've already recorded with. Issues came up, tech issues, but we're back. We're doing it again. Emma Westin, how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
Really good. I'll start off with another apology, obviously, for this. It was really embarrassing for me because there was a stage before I started this second season with all the episodes back in May, and I kept telling you, yeah, the episode is coming out. It's about to come out. It's about to come out. And I wasn't posting weekly like I am right now. And when I was editing, I'm like, holy crap, it's not there. Like, I had everything, and the video was only 15 minutes. It came up that there was 45 minutes available, which is what it lasted last time. And I don't know what happened with my drive, so I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
But
this is fun. I'll do it again.
Yeah, no, it's really fun, and I mean, we were talking right before this. We're friends, so it's really more of a conversation at this point than an interview. Very funny because when people pull up, I was telling you, like, they're like, "Whoa, the Ritz!" Like the Ritz is where I live, but the Ritz, like, what is this place? And then it's like, yeah, my room's over there. And then you just walked in, opened the door by yourself. And it's like, yeah, I've been here way too long.
Way too many times.
Yeah. But yeah, another embarrassing thing is that I mentioned in Bjorn's episode 12, I was like, yeah, Emma helped me pronounce Södertälje.
Almost, yeah, Södertälje.
Yeah, there we go. I messed it up this time, but I was like, yeah, Emma Westin, episode 10. And that never happened, so that's embarrassing. But anyways, let's dive deep into it. Emma Westin, for those that may not know you, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Emma. I play on the Cal women's soccer team. I'm from Sweden, senior, 5th year senior, so really old. Yeah, I'm from Stockholm, moved here for college. Yeah,
5th year, and it's kind of crazy. The last time we recorded was back in May, and a lot of things have happened since then. Like I said, you're the second Swede that has officially been here, but the first women's soccer player. I told you I was going to mention something funny in the beginning of this episode. When I was doing my research, even though we're friends, I mean, I have to do some research just to prepare for this, and I Googled Emma Westin, and what came up was a picture of you on Google, but the explanation was Swedish pro golfer.
Yes, there is a Swedish golfer named Emma Westin.
It's your picture, and it has her details. It's
really?
Like, it has Ladies European Tour, first person to win 3 Lady European Tours in one season. It says you're 30 years old, that you're from Bora, Sweden, all these things. So that was interesting. Yeah. But to dive into who you actually are, what was your life like before Cal? You mentioned that you moved here to the United States basically to play college soccer and to study here. What was life like back in Stockholm? Were you born in Stockholm? Were you raised there?
Yes.
Okay.
Or just maybe like an hour outside of Stockholm, still like part of the big area of Stockholm but not city. So lived by a lake, grew up in a house, really nice neighborhood in terms of like I lived on the end of the street, so we had probably 5 houses where all the kids were my age, so we would just play around with each other and like shoot basketballs, and we had a little soccer goal on our little garden in the front, and everyone would just play together, and it would be nice.
In your bio for Cal, it describes like your family in the sense that you were both parents and then your younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
how big is that age gap? And I'm only asking because were you like playing with your neighbors as if they were your siblings at that point?
Yeah, because all of us were the same. It was like maybe 3 years apart. And my brother is 2 years younger than me, so we had 3 girls my age, 1 girl 1 years younger, and then 2 girls, or one, the drill.
Yeah.
It was like probably like 4 years apart, everyone. So yeah, we just grew up with each other, and they were like my second family. So
that's nice. How did you get into soccer, like from such an early age? You just mentioned right now that, I mean, basketball's a thing, soccer's a thing. Is it just part of the Swedish culture, or how did you get into it?
Okay, I want to say though, I'm terrible at basketball, so that was really only a thing like up until, I don't know, age of 10, and then I just stopped. I cannot. My dad he's a huge soccer fan, and it's like the biggest sport in Sweden, so it was very natural for people to start playing when they were 5 or 6, so that's what I did and continued. I played in the same club until I was 18 and moved here.
Yeah.
So that's also like a second home for me, just all the people around there, and it was very close to home too, so I knew a lot of people, and it was great.
I mean, 12 years in the same club is crazy.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's really interesting that you mentioned that you started playing at such a young age, because I was talking to my physical therapist here at Cal while I was like rehabbing for my meniscus early this season, and they were mentioning the ACL in women's soccer, like the whole situation, how it's a very common injury. I mean, not that it's something you expect, but at this point, like, your team prepares for it. You expect like 2 to 3 every season, which sucks. And I was asking him, like, why is that the case? Why do women's players just tear their ACLs easier than the men's players? And usually there's like this idea of like it has to do with the hips and the body anatomy and all these things. But he was telling me that it has to do also with the fact that many girls start playing way after the boys.
Oh, really?
Obviously, I am not a physical therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not anything. But this is what they were telling me. They were saying that it makes sense because, like, for boys or for like kids that still play soccer to this day, we started playing when we were like 5 or 6, and like our muscles were pretty much developing since then, in comparison to some of the girls that start a few years later, and they barely start developing their muscles, and they go at a much faster pace, and then eventually it'll happen. So that's interesting that you mentioned that.
I've never heard that theory before, because I've always heard the hips thing and how that affects the ACLs, but maybe.
Hopefully that'll benefit you. Like I said, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but if it's true, I hope it benefits you since you started at a really young age. You grew up playing soccer. What was your education like in Sweden, and how important was school for you?
Kind of like the same as here. Went through, I don't even know, elementary school, middle school, I don't know the names, but all the way up until high school. I actually went to music school for 4th to 6th grade. So that was really fun. My mom is really into singing and choir, so I applied to the school and got in for some reason, and then so that was really fun. And then for year 7 to 9th, I actually went to athletic school.
Okay.
So that was just, we had a lot more PE than other, I don't want to say regular, but like regular class or schools. And then I went to high school, just normal high school.
With the musical and athletic, are there like themed schools in Sweden, or how does that work?
Not usually. It's just like I happen to. There's like 2 music schools in Stockholm, so I applied to that. And the athletic program, I don't know if I don't think it's that common. It was just like in my area they had one, and I wanted to do that.
Yeah, there's the music school, the athletic school, and then the NARP school, pretty much.
It's actually the same school. It's just like they had, because we go with the same 30 or 20 people, so then you'd go with your classmate. We're all like athletic people, but like the whole school wasn't just like athletics.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. Growing up, I mean, obviously you grew up in Sweden. When was it that you started learning English?
I think 3rd grade we started learning it in school.
And did you practice it like from there until college, pretty much?
It was mainly when started watching YouTube videos and stuff like that when you become more comfortable, but from maybe 3rd grade up until 8th grade, it was mostly in school that you learn.
And then in high school, I mean, you mentioned right now that it was 7th through 9th grade and then high school. So it's only 3 years of high school over there?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's those 3 years, and yeah, I figured, I mean, with social media and all these things, you just pretty much learn English at this point, right?
I mean, now I feel very comfortable, but I also I should have said that in the beginning. If I see something stupid, then I apologize, because sometimes things don't come out the way that I wanted because it's not my first language. But yeah, I mean, now I feel comfortable and I don't really care. Because in the beginning when I got here, I was very conscious about saying things the correct way and like, what will people think, because I'm not fluent in English, but now I'm just, no one cares, so.
I mean, at this point you're fluent, but I can relate to it because some things that you can say in another language just don't come through the right way. I've said it, like, even to this day. I mean, I'm not sure I can label any language as my first language. To me, English and Spanish are my first language, and that's just how it is.
That's so cool.
Like, I basically learned them at the exact same time. My English is better than my Spanish in overall terms, but still, it's like I sometimes think in Spanish and sometimes I think in English. Sometimes I dream in English, sometimes I dream in Spanish. Like, it's all these certain things. And even this season, like, I'm not going to mention it because it came off as really bad, but I said something with my team in English that makes perfect sense in Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really bad.
Yeah.
So
I've done that too. It's just like in your head, you go a direction and then you're like, nope, cannot say that.
To this day, they still bring it up.
Oh, really?
Christian Gomez, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention it here, but he knows exactly what I'm talking about. You can ask him. I will not mention it here. But anyways, I'm asking about all of that because you've mentioned previously the reasons that you wanted to come study in the U.S. was because of higher education and combined with sports, which isn't something that is available in Sweden and mostly in all of Europe / the rest of the world, because a lot of people come to the U.S. specifically to be able to do both. So what was that like? What was your recruiting process like to get to Cal?
So I had an American coach probably from when I was 14. And then one of my best friends, her dream was always go to college. So through that, I kind of got the idea that, oh, this is actually possible. I can do this. And then I made a video of myself playing from games and stuff, sent it out to a couple of coaches around the U.S., didn't know what to expect, and then got a couple of replies, and it kind of just went from there.
So my recruiting process, the way I did it is I organized an Excel in like what schools I was interested in and what programs I was interested in, and then I'd combine them, and that's how I sent out my videos. Did you have any strategies for like what teams or coaches you sent out the videos to, or was it literally random, like what you could find?
I actually just went by rankings. So I went through the education part of it and then also soccer, and then just sent out the best combination basically. And then also, my dad used to work in the area, so he knew about Cal, and it's a great education and great soccer team, so that's also part of it, why I sent out an email too.
Okay, yeah, so pretty much the same combination, because I did the same thing with school and soccer. What year was this when you were sending out videos?
Probably my junior year, so pretty late in terms of like American standards, I guess.
Yeah, I mean American standards for women's soccer, because for men's soccer it's like...
Oh yeah, it's later for you guys.
That's when you start, but for women's soccer, especially women's sports, actually, something I've realized is that the recruiting class knows each other from way beforehand. Like I see, I mean, what year are we in, 2021? I see like pictures of like Cal women's soccer, class of 2026, and they're all together in the uniforms, and it's like, what? Like I knew the kids in my class because, I mean, Armand, Juan, and Colin are all from San Diego. Togo we played against growing up. But for other people, I don't know how they'd know each other unless they were playing against each other or something like that.
And it's all because they get recruited so early. Even because for us, sometimes recruits will come on campus and we'll have these big groups coming on, and then they'll all get to know each other and we'll host them and do fun things. So I guess that's how
Yeah. No, that's important. So I was asking all of that because, I mean, like you said, it's late in the process. Did you ever fly in to come into one of those recruiting trips?
Yeah, I went one spring of my junior year. I visited Cal and then Wisconsin.
Okay.
And then when I committed, I also went. It wasn't our official visit, but it was, well, it technically was mine, but I couldn't go when all the other, the real official visit was. So it was actually me and Emily Smith, just us, because she was at the World Cup or something. So we did it together. So that was fun.
So Emily Smith was at the World Cup with the U.S.?
Yes, when the actual official visit was. So then her and I had to go later.
Oh, that's crazy how life works.
So that's just so funny that she was the first in my class that I met, and also now we've been living together for 4 years. And
so for everybody that doesn't know, Emily Smith, great person, great player. Emma's pretty much best friend here at Cal. They've lived together for 4.5 years now. Yeah. So that's crazy that's the first person that you guys met. I mean, some things are just meant to be, I guess, and that's nice. A great story. When you, I mean, like I said, you already prioritized your education, because if you wanted to take the pro route and just stay there, you could have. Did you have in mind what you wanted to major in, or was it purely just like, I want to have the college education?
I knew what I liked. I was more into science and math and stuff, because in Sweden you actually pick a major in high school. It's a little less specific than it is here. You just pick like science or econ or social sciences, so it's not very specific. But so I went to the science program, so I knew kind of that I wanted to do something ish with that and kind of maybe go into business, but more than that I didn't really.
Okay. And when you did finally go to Cal, you arrived to Cal in 2017?
Yes.
All right, so fall 2017, you show up to Cal. Freshman year, what was it like just coming to Cal? Forget about the soccer, just showing up, obviously very different place. You have been to the U.S. before, but you've never lived here, right?
Yeah.
So what was that experience like for you, just like before even season started? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think for all freshmen coming in, it's just such a different place. You might be living from home for the first time ever, and it's just all these new things. But I guess for me, I also had the added piece that I knew English, but it wasn't my first language, and the college system was new to me. I've always had my classes picked out for me, and like I went with the same group of people. And here, now suddenly, I had to pick my own schedule, and I had to go to these different classes with different people, and I just wasn't used to that. So it was very overwhelming, but also like such a cool experience because, yeah, as you mentioned, schools and sports aren't really connected in Sweden. So this whole spirit thing and like these pep rallies and all of that isn't really a thing back home. So that was super exciting and cool to see when I came here.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's awesome that you get the best of both worlds in a way. Diving into season, you were doing pretty good right off the bat. Freshman year, you started in the season opener against UC Irvine. So the first possible game of your career, you're starting, which is crazy to think about. And you assisted.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
The funny thing is that after that game, I was like, wow, I got wrecked. Because it was so fast-paced and I wasn't used to... Because in college, it's very different compared to home. It's a lot of... everyone just goes in and runs because they can get subbed out. And in Sweden, it was a little bit more tactical and a more... I don't want to say slow pace, but like less frantic. So I went into that and I was like, oh my God. So I was definitely shocked after the first game. But yeah, it was so cool to be able to assist and start my first game. Like that was super exciting.
Yeah, and for you guys, especially like you mentioned with the subs, you guys sub a lot.
Yes.
The rules in college soccer, for those that may not know, in the first half, or at least this is the males' rules, so correct me if I'm wrong, but in men's soccer, men's collegiate soccer, you can take a player out one time in the first half, and in the second half, it's unlimited. Is that the same way with women's soccer?
I think it's like you can only get subbed out twice or 3 times in the second half. But basically, that's like, if you sub more than that, then...
If a player goes in and out of the game 3 times, I mean, that's a lot. But still,
that's a lot.
You guys make a lot of subs, which is, I mean, beneficial to the style of play that you guys are doing. And I get it, like, sprint. Oh
my God. There we go. Sorry.
You're good. What I was saying is that it benefits your style of play a lot, not yours specifically, but the team. So that's really nice. And overall, you had 19 appearances, 9 starts, which is, I mean, pretty good for freshman year. But how are you feeling? Because obviously when we come in from high school, we're all expecting to play a lot the way we've always had in the past. So how was that experience for you? 19 appearances is really good for a freshman, but 9 starts, which is also very good for a freshman, maybe isn't what you're used to. So what were you thinking at the time?
I think I was just struggling outside of the field in terms of school was really hard. I took a really intensive writing class, so like English class, so that was really tough on me. And I mean, socially, I loved the team. I had a lot of fun, but it was, as I said, you're not fully yourself if you can't speak the language in the way that you want to. You're not as funny. You're not as quick. So that was definitely also hard. And I think that affected soccer a little bit for me in terms of I brought that stress in between the lines, basically. So yeah, I definitely feel like I could have done better at just like shutting that out. So that was definitely really rough, and the coach was really hard on me because obviously you have a lot of expectations when you come in as an international. And but yeah, I think overall, looking back at that, it was a good season for me, just thinking of the circumstances. But I don't remember what my expectations were actually.
Okay.
But yeah, it's rough when you're used to starting and then you're starting half the games. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is definitely weird. But overall, I mean, you have 3 assists, 1 goal, 98th in the freshman Top Jar Soccer postseason. So, I mean, that's really good. But the cultural shifts are obviously very tough. And even for me, like, I've lived in California my entire life, but I was in a cultural bubble my entire life up until college. And then I realized, like, whoa, this is not what I'm used to. And like I said, I'm only an hour flight away. Like, it's not even that bad, but it affects me in things that we can relate to. For example, even to this day, where it's been 2.5 years of me being in college. For you, it's 4.5, and playing things like Quiplash, for example. Like, we both don't really participate in it when we play here in the living room because it's like, culturally, we're just not funny that way, and we don't get it that way. For those that don't know what Quiplash is, just Google it. I guess we can't explain it here. But it's just one of those things where, like, culturally, I'm not used to it, and I would try it out, but it's like, I'm not going to be funny at the game, and it's not going to work out. So it's one of those things. But how long do you think that obstacle took to get past?
About a year.
Okay.
Because after the first year, I'd done everything. I went through a fall season, I went through spring, and also I did talk to a mental coach over the summer, just to like get everything, because school was really difficult, and my parents were like, you need to start, because like I expected myself to do just as well in school here as I did in my first language back home, which is not normal. Maybe I did really well anyways, but like the stress that I had because I just wanted to be the best at everything I did kind of just took the fun out of it too. So I did go to a mental coach, and that really helped too. Where does that perfectionist Emma come from? I don't know. I just don't. I think it's a fear of failure.
Okay.
I really want to be the best at everything I do.
Is that still something you hold to this day?
Yeah, but I've learned to tone it down a little bit. I try to just think that it's not the end of the world. But
okay.
I still want to do as well as I can. like you always want to do the best.
What advice would you give to international freshmen coming into Cal or that are currently at Cal and may feel the same way that you did back then?
It's funny that you say that because I was just talking to a Swedish girl who plays at UCLA. And I mean, what I told her was that it will work out in the end. Like, I went through this and I got out of it, and you will too, but just it will be rough in the beginning. Like, everything is not going to be the same as home, and you just have to, it takes time for you to adjust, and that's okay. But like me being here for 4 years, I think that's proof that it's a great experience, and I love every second of it. And even though freshman year was a little rough, like, I've had the best 4 years here, and it's been amazing.
With those 4 years, I mean, obviously you started off with freshman year and it got better from there. But we already mentioned Emily and the connection that you two have. Yeah. You were roommates freshman year, right? And you're both really close to all my roommates, who, I mean, my roommates here, with Church and Goose, and I mean, they're not here anymore, but Tommy and Kaleo, and even Dylan. You guys are really close with them. Did that start from freshman year?
Yes, that started in the dorms.
And how helpful was that for you?
Oh, it was great. It was really nice. And I think a part of why we became so close was because we lived in the dorms that most athletes did not live in. So not that we didn't have a choice but to hang out with each other, but it was very like, oh, it's us now. Like, we hang out, and we hung out a lot that year. And I'm so thankful for that, and just went through it together. That
was Foothill, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I was at Foothill as well. Women's soccer, my class was not at Foothill, but yeah, obviously not the best of dorms. But
I didn't want to say that out loud, but yeah.
Yeah, not the best of dorms, but it's nice that you guys got to build that connection. Yeah. So shout out to everyone I mentioned. Yeah. Moving on to sophomore year. You go from the 9 starts and 19 appearances, so half of that, to a sophomore year where you're the only player to appear in and start all 19 games in the fall of 2018.
Yeah.
What changed?
I think it was, as I said, I just came into it with a new mentality and just like, oh, I've done everything now. There's nothing to be scared of or be like, and I just played like I'm used to playing. So it was definitely a weight off my shoulder too. And that season was, even though we didn't do very well that season, it was still very fun for me to be able to prove myself in that way.
You mentioned that you worked with a mental coach over the summer. What type of things were you guys working on, and how did that help you be able to accomplish this your sophomore year?
I think it was definitely a part of it was the expectation part of it, in terms of me having to be realistic about where I'm coming from and what I can expect of myself, not to take away from goals and stuff like that in terms of like what I want to achieve. And then it was also, we talked about the fear of failure, because a part of it was my fear of penalty kicks, actually. And that was just a huge obstacle for me. Like, even from, 7 years old, like, every time there would be a penalty shootout, I would cry. I would just not, obviously I'm not crying now, but inside I am. And that was just like something that we worked on a lot with him too. So
interesting. And how do you work on such a thing?
Practice. Because I think, it's funny because last season I was the penalty kick taker for our team, and I would just, before every game, I would take penalty kicks, like the practice before every game I would practice it. So I knew when I stepped up there, I would be able to do it. Yeah,
I actually remember that you mentioned this now. I had forgotten from May, but you did mention that the fear of penalty kicks and how you went from being scared and crying when you were 7 to actually being the penalty kick taker at one of the biggest programs in the nation. So that's pretty cool. Your sophomore year as well, you were the assist leader. You had 4 assists and 4 goals, and you were on the second team for Pac-12 All Academic Honors. How did academics look then? What was going on during sophomore year for you?
It was a lot better that too, because I just let go of the stress about, I have to be the best, I have to be this. And with that, I actually ended up doing almost better, because I just sat down and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to stress about it. In the spring, I took a lot of units because I had to meet a unit, for applying to business school. But I was so organized. I had my planner, I had every day plan out, and I was tutoring too. So there was a lot going on, but that year was great for academics too.
What were you tutoring in?
In math.
In math. Okay, so you love math.
Oh, I wouldn't say that I loved calculus, but then going into linear algebra, no.
Okay. What made you choose business at the end of the day instead of the sciences that you were passionate about before?
I think it was the fact that I couldn't find a great match for me in terms of, because I didn't want to do just math, and I didn't want to just go into, biology or chemistry, because I didn't like the actual lab part of it. And then I always wanted to try business, so at that point I was like, okay, I'm going to apply to business school, see what happens, and see if I like it. And then I got in. And that was a cool experience, it was. But I think, that was the main reason.
Well, what was that experience made up of? Or, could you elaborate on how that was a cool experience for you?
The business side of it? Well, I think I learned that maybe pure business wasn't my thing, first of all, because I am more of a math person, which I realized, and I like the just nitty-gritty sitting and solving problems. And business is solving problems, but I liked having an answer that is very, I'm like black and white in that sense. And business was very, it can be that way, or it can be this way. And I'm like, no, it has to be one way. So I really liked the business analytics classes and the more quantitative classes. But then when it came to communication or that, I was like, maybe not for me.
Are you black and white in any other areas of your life? Is that who you are as a person?
Wow, good question. I don't know. Yeah, I do like a straightforward answer, but I don't know if I'm like that in every aspect.
Do you like straightforward problems?
Yeah.
Okay. So keep it straightforward with
Sure.
Emma Westin. I'm just messing with you, but it was interesting. It's a good way to put it, and I mean, I do like things like that as well. I feel like you just like a tangible answer or tangible solutions, but for me, I'm the complete other way.
Oh, really?
I used to like math at some point in my life. I think just some of the classes I've taken made me lose that passion that I used to have. But yeah, I enjoy writing a lot now, and obviously doing essays, for example. There's no single answer when you're doing an essay. You can go all over the place, and that's what I love. I really enjoy that and being creative in that sense. So yeah, very different people.
I'm very the opposite way. Essays are just Achilles heel for me. I cannot. I mean, I'm doing it, but I just not fun.
Do you think that has anything to do with the cultural shift? For example, numbers in the US and in Sweden are the exact same. Essays aren't. Do you think that played a role?
Maybe. I don't know.
That just came up in my mind.
But actually, though, when I took my math here, there was still, difference compared to back home. It was I had to relearn math because you guys... Well, first of all, the language and all the terms and all that. And then just the way that you wrote things, some formulas were used differently and all that. So it's still it was a little bit of a difference. But I guess, yeah, in the broad sense, it was the same.
I mean, yeah, that may play a role. Something that also just came up in my mind, I've realized that many people's ways of thinking or cultural approaches have to do with how they learn languages or what is made up of their languages. For example, I am bilingual, bicultural, right?
Mm-hmm.
I literally live on both sides of the border.
Yeah.
And something that I've noticed recently is that obviously pronouns are a thing here in the collegiate life or in the U.S. It's like you introduce your names and your pronouns.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really make sense for people in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about it so much, like, why would that not make sense for them? Like using they, for example. And I've realized that it's all like some of the words are just made up in like male or female. For example, casa, house, carro, car.
Yeah.
With the O at the end, that's male. With the A at the end, that's female. And there's no like, it's like papa, mama, that's mom and dad.
Yeah.
But see how it's different? Like you can just say parents. And in Spanish, it's papas. So it's like, I don't know, it's really interesting, and I've realized that that's how people think. Mm-hmm. Going back to the question, do you think there's anything like that with Swedish and English?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, because we don't have the feminine, masculine thing that I know Spanish has. Obviously, the language is really different, but it's not, because I've heard that before, that the way that different people with different like languages view an object has to do with like how what kind of, if it's feminine or if it's masculine, because I know that some words in French are like, someone said something about a bridge or something, I don't know if that's actually true, but in Spanish it's masculine and in French it's feminine, and then that way people view a bridge in like different ways. So I definitely think like that's it plays a factor in. It's
just very interesting, and I don't know, I'm not saying like specifically with masculine and feminine words, but it's just interesting how language plays a role in the culture and how people are made up. Like the point I was trying to get across, for example, he, him, she, her, they. Yeah. The they in Spanish is like, what? Like where is that coming from? Yeah. And they're trying to like invent new words now where instead of O or A, there's an E at the end to create that they. And that's why people are backlashing, like, that's not how we were raised, that's not how we were taught, and it creates that shift. Yeah. Whereas for us, like in the US, you say they, and it's like, all right, cool. Parents, it's neutral, you know? House, neutral. Car, neutral. Yeah. And I don't know. That was a huge parenthesis to the talk we're having,
but interesting.
But it is interesting how that could play a role in how the cultural shift. Yeah. Now that you're here. But anyways, amazing sophomore season. You did well with soccer. You did well with school. Then comes junior year, Emma. Mm-hmm. That was 21 appearances, 20 starts. So that was pretty good again. In the previous 2 seasons, you guys had a total of 19 games. Mm-hmm. Now there was playoffs, I believe, right?
Yes.
I remember that, actually. I remember watching. 21 appearances, 20 starts, 11 goals. You were only the 4th player in Cal recent history. And over the past, I'm going to rephrase that. You had 11 goals in 21 appearances and 20 starts, and you were the 4th Cal player in the past decade to do that. Did you realize that, or were you told after? Or?
I was told after, and I didn't know that at the time. I was just playing.
Well, you had 7 goals in 7 games right off the start, and at the end, I think you had 4 goals in the last 6 games, which was crazy. What was that experience like for you? Do you remember the game that you didn't start, and why that was?
Yes, it was against. See, I don't know how to put this because it was against a team that maybe wasn't as good.
You can say that.
Okay, well, it was that, and he decided that he was gonna rest a lot of players. So.
Okay. So Emma was just on her MVP sideline thing. No, I mean that makes sense, and you guys have a big roster for a reason. Yeah. And yeah. Overall, what was the experience like for you? Consistency again. It seems at this point as if you've never had a bad season before here at Cal. So, What was that like? What was that run like? You guys made playoffs. Was that your first playoffs?
Second. We made it first year too.
Okay. Well, as a solidified player, first playoffs. What was that experience like for you? Did you run into any obstacles, or was it pretty much a great season once again?
I mean, we started out great. I think we were the only team that hadn't let in a goal in the first, I think, 7 games or something. So obviously that was super exciting. I remember the whole season as a great season, and I also think that the team chemistry was really good. I mean, we always have a great team chemistry, so, but I think that really helped us. In the Pac-12, I don't remember us. I mean, we did beat the LA schools, so that was super exciting. So we had some like really great wins. I also do remember some like games that were like, how did that happen? How did we lose that one? So if I could get those ones back, then yes, because I remember us playing pretty well for most of the season. But yeah, no. Obviously there was obstacles, but for most of the time it was good.
For me, that was my freshman year, and I actually remember that when you guys didn't let in any goals at the beginning, because that was Ange's first season.
She was great that season.
Well, she was Pac-12 goalkeeper of the year.
Oh yeah.
Like freshman and like overall goalkeepers, which is crazy because there's other great teams in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Shout out Ange.
Shout out Ange.
But yeah, I mean that was a great season pretty much for you guys, defensively especially, but for you personally, I mean, you put up great numbers. You started pretty much every game. And not only that, but you also went to a tournament with the Swedish national team, right? With the U23s?
Yes. I think that was in the spring, because we usually don't go to national teams during the fall, because it's so compact already. It's only 3 months of 20 games, so if you're gone for 2 weeks, then you're missing 4 games. So but yeah, that was in the spring, and that was super exciting. Most of those people I was on the youth national teams with, so I knew a lot of them, so it was just fun seeing everyone again and go to Spain.
Yeah. I figured it was in Spain because the tournament was called La Manga, so I was like, yeah, for sure in Spain. That season, U.S. Soccer coaches second team all-region, so that was your first all-region team. All district first team and Pac-12 academic honor roll. You mentioned that you went with the Swedish national team in the spring. That was spring 2020. That was pandemic. So where were you during the spring, and where were you during March of 2020?
No, we were in Spain, and that's when people started really taking COVID seriously. We're like, oh, this is actually a thing. And I remember coming back, and the day after we came back, that's when everything shut down. So like practices were canceled, and people were scared of me because I just came from traveling, and they were like, oh, Emma. But yeah, and then I spent 2 weeks with Kaylee Gifford here until my mom and dad got scared that I wouldn't be able to go home. So then I went home.
Yeah. That's crazy. So you were traveling in March of 2020 from Europe to here.
Yes.
Wow. That is interesting. I remember you mentioning being with Kaylee. You stayed with Kaylee for 2 weeks, and then your parents made that decision to go back to Sweden. Everybody was scared here. Everybody was freaking out. You fly back to Sweden, and what's the deal?
Yeah, people... It was very chill back home, in the sense that no one was wearing a mask. There was not many restrictions, mainly just suggestions, because we didn't have laws in place that could force people to wear masks or do these things. So it was definitely coming from a place here where everything was shut down, had to wear a mask, you could barely go outside, it felt like sometimes, to going home, and everyone's just kind of living like normal, even though it wasn't normal. So yeah.
How did you feel about that personally?
Well, I mean, it was nice, because Berkeley, around the time where everything shut down, was depressing. Like, it was not great. And but at the same time, it was a debate back home if we should have done things differently, because like I mean for the economy it was great because everything was up and running, but there was a lot of elderlies that took the hit from how we approached things. So yeah.
Did you resume your normal life, or did you and your family do things differently?
Oh no! Oh yeah. My parents worked from home. We didn't see as many people. Like we didn't. So it was definitely different. The league, because I ended up playing with a team back home, canceled for the first. It took a break for the first, I don't know, 2 or like a month or 2 when I was home. So like that was different because we didn't know if we were gonna play or not. Yeah, so it was definitely like you couldn't hang out with as many people, but yeah.
Other than that, it was pretty normal.
Yeah, I didn't go on public transportations and stuff like that, but yeah.
And what about that team that you were with? The first month is pretty much March. The second is April. By May, by June-ish, you guys were already training again?
We were actually training starting, I think, beginning of April.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, oh no, I did that again, sorry.
You're good.
But I think the league, our first game was probably early June. And then at that point, they had to like play 2 games a week, and it was very compact.
Okay,
sense.
Interesting. What do you mean by it being very compact? Like in the sense of
they
schedule?
Squeezed all the games together because we missed 2 months of the season.
Got it. So you guys were pretty much trying to finish off the season. With that team, I saw that you met Zlatan.
Yeah.
What was that like? Was that his team that you were playing on, or what was the case?
Yeah, he is a part-time owner in the club. So he was... Because he was also home, I think, from Italy at that point. He was training with the men's side. And then he just suddenly showed up to our practice. We didn't know anything. And he was like, can I join? Like, obviously, our coach knew it, that he was going to be there. So then he practiced the whole practice with us, which was so cool.
What was that experience like for you? Was there anything specific that you remember that's, like, standing out from that experience?
I think in the media, you know how he's always very cocky and like very out there, but he was so nice. Like he was such like a fun guy to talk to, and like he was giving us tips and stuff. Like I got to be on the same team as him, which was so fun because in like little huddles between drills, he would like say things and stuff, and he was just like laughing and joking around, so that I really got to see another side of him than what you maybe see in the media.
I mean, in the media, he has to do his role and play his job and be that character, which obviously sells a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm sure as a person, he must be great, and getting to know him on that aspect of things is so fun. I mean, I can't imagine if Zlatan is already like one of the biggest figures for me. I can't imagine what it would be like to 1, play with him, but 2, being from Sweden and playing with him. That must be awesome. What was that experience like with that team? Is it close to home? Were you still with your family at that point?
Yeah, it's in central Stockholm. So, I mean, I had 25 to 30 minutes with a car into. So that was great. It's actually my dad's favorite team growing up, so he was super excited too. But yeah, that whole season was amazing, and it was weird because there was no fans at all, and the team is, and the club is known for having a great supporter. It's a great supporter club in the sense that there's usually a lot of people. I think they broke the record now. There was like, I think 18,000 at the women's game.
Wow.
Which is amazing. But yeah, there weren't any fans that were allowed. So that was weird, but we ended up advancing to the professional league, so that was such a cool experience too. Yeah,
in a way, you were a pro player for exactly. a year or so. You went from collegiate to pro, and you went from second division to first division, which is awesome. That must be a great experience. What were your numbers like in terms of playing time, or how was that for you?
I actually ended up playing a lot, which was super exciting. I had some head injuries that put me out for some games, but started the majority of the games there. And yeah, it was it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in a way it solidifies you as like a very legit player to go from college to pro and being like playing like normal regardless whether it's second or first division. It comes to show you that you're ready and that you can take that step whenever you choose to do so. But then you come back for your senior year here at Cal. It is very different to what Sweden is like. You said, it was depressing. I remember at one point during the spring of 2020, I was like, I need to get out of Berkeley for a bit. And I was like just driving around because literally like our Friday night plans or Saturdays was like, all right, boys, let's order food and we'll watch a movie. And it's like, what? And it's annoying for everyone because we were with the same roommates, playing with the same teammates, and that was it. And besides that, I was locked in this room just with my computer right here. And that was it. That was my life. And it must have been so tough for someone that had tasted liberty for such a long time and then coming back to this. So what was that experience like for you? When was it that you came back? Until January or when?
Yeah, early, like January 4th, probably. Because
you had to quarantine for a longer time, right?
Exactly. And then also just because we had a spring season, we had to come back earlier for that because we started practicing earlier than usual.
Oh, that's right. Because you guys started season. Well, you guys always start season before us.
Yeah, but we usually come back around the 20th, and this time it was very early.
I mean, like in general, like even when it's during the fall, you guys start a week or two before us. So now that it got shifted to the spring, that's why you guys came in even earlier. I do remember that season, team captain. Yeah. A step up there. So team captain. All Pac-12 30 team, all district team again, Pac-12 honor roll again, played and started in all of the 8 games that you guys played. Or was it, all the 8 games that you were in?
That I was in, because I missed the last 5 games of the season.
Okay, so that all of the games that you were in, we'll touch on that in a bit. Regardless of whether you missed some of the games, you were the assist in goals and you were the leader in goals and assists. And then you played at least 80 minutes in every single game that you were in, which, like we said, is a lot because of all the subs you guys do. So obviously you're a key player, and then you missed the last 5 games. So what was that experience like from being so consistent, reaching a pro level, coming back, team captain, being pretty much the person that runs the team in the midfield, and then that happens?
Yeah, I mean, in the summer, I had 2 concussions back to back, but I was only out for maybe a week or 2, and then I didn't have any issues, and then I came back and my symptoms came back, and I think it was April or something, and that was definitely, because if you have a hamstring injury, it's like, okay, you can't play, that sucks. But you can at least do everything else. Like, you can do school, you can do social activities. But for me, it was like, oh, I can't focus. I can't do this. It's just, like, so rough when you have a head injury like that. And especially in COVID times where you're not allowed to see people or do anything like that. So, obviously, that was tough. But it was 5 games. Could have been worse. You know?
Yeah. I mean, even COVID times, 5 games is a lot because, like you said, there's not much to do besides be home, play soccer, and being on your phone, and your screen time is limited because of this injury. So yeah, that's obviously not great news. What happened when you went into the summer with that concussion? Did it stay? Did it go back?
I left here feeling fine. Like, I was good, and I actually played all summer. I didn't play on a team because I couldn't play on the professional team now. I practiced with them, but I wasn't allowed to play because of NCAA rules. But, like, I was at a national team camp, was fine there. And then I think I managed to go the whole summer avoiding heading, which I think that's what happens when I came back, that I headed a couple of balls, and I guess my head wasn't ready for that. And yeah, now we're here.
Yeah.
And I missed most of the season, unfortunately, but yeah.
Obviously, that is the unfortunate part. You go from a freshman year that, like we said, all right, maybe not to your expectations, but you were there playing and starting in half of the games. Sophomore year, you are the person on the team. Junior year, you're running the midfield. Senior year, you're running the midfield, and then the last 5 games are taken out. And then you decide to come back for a 5th year. What went into the decision of coming back for a 5th year? You and Emily were the only ones that decided to come back. Emily's already drafted in the NWSL. You are most likely to go pro in Europe. So what was that decision? Like, why did you make that decision? Was it because of the injury?
There was a lot of, I made a pro-con list. Like, first of all, since we missed our senior season, I kind of wanted to have a better ending to things. I wanted a real last season with the team and everything. One part of it was the education, because I managed to get a double major, which I realized that because I did data science too, and that was a little bit more what I wanted to do. So then I got to double major, which was super exciting. And then I love being here. So that also went into it. And then in Sweden, we go from it's a January to November season. So coming back home and jumping in a season in the middle, I was like, maybe it's better if I stay here, and then I can start fresh with the team and have the same kind of opportunity as everyone else.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about how important it is for you to finish your career off that way.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wasn't the case. You ended up playing in your 5th year. You were still the team captain, but the concussion injury kept you out for a while just because you had those symptoms. And those symptoms didn't go away. Season starts in August, then came September. Mm-hmm. We were into October, and it hadn't left. You ended up playing in 5 games and had 4 starts. How was that for you? Because, I mean, I can already see it in your eyes. It's like you're getting pissed off about this topic. And I remember I was in the gym, so I was also not traveling in the beginning of the season and not playing at all because of my meniscus injury. I showed up to Berkeley and I couldn't walk, like, when I came into Berkeley this semester. And I remember, like, on our first travel trip, I was barely starting to train again. So I'm still here, and you were in the gym as well, and I bumped into you, and that's when I learned about this. But you stayed training consistently. What kept you going?
Yeah, I mean, I had high expectations for this season. It was my last season. I was taking a reduced course load because I only had 2 classes to take, and I was just super excited to only be able to focus on soccer. And then obviously it didn't really work out that way. And I think for me, it was one part was the expectation part that it hit me that, this is not gonna probably go the way that I want it. But then also, like, I stayed, my whole class was gone, and when you don't have that soccer's going well for you, then you're like, okay, the social aspect of it is like, I'm here for soccer, like, my whole class is gone, and then everyone's left, and I was so fortunate that Lucas and Goose and Dylan stayed, because that was a nice part of it too, that I had my group of people that was still here. But yeah, that was definitely mentally tough to go through. And yeah, I mean, I must assume it's difficult because it's a big decision and it worked out that way. The entire time, did you have any motivation? I'm not sure if you're religious at all, or if you have anything else that just kept you going, some sense of belief in something that's like, all right, it's gonna work out, everything happens for a reason, it'll work out. Did you have anything like that, or no? I think a part of it was I had such great support staff. Like, I went and saw a doctor every week, and our trainer was super supportive, and they were always very optimistic. I was like, no, we're gonna get you back, like, do these things. And I was going to the eye clinic and doing eye exercises every week. I went to get oh my god, I lost the word, the needle thing in your acupuncture. There we go. And, like, there was so many different things that I did in order to get back, because I just wanted to play. Like, that's that was my motivation, basically. I really wanted to play. And I'm super excited that I at least got 5 games and got to play in my senior game. And yeah, so.
Take me through that senior day experience. We were supposed to play San Diego State right before you guys. It's pouring, field is flooded, and you guys changed the location and you went up to Witter, which is a rugby field where we played during the spring semester. What was that experience like? I think so I have an album on Instagram of like saved pictures, and there's always like pictures I save from my guests here on the podcast or people I want to have as future guests. And there's a picture I have saved from like Cal Women's Soccer senior day, and it's just you with your head protection and it is pouring. So what was that like?
It's just so funny because, I mean, senior day, you're supposed to go out on the field, like, with your parents. You get a little bit of flowers, and they say nice things about your career here at Cal, and everyone's applauding and all of that. And then it's raining, and it's raining sideways. Our locker room down at Goldman is flooded, and just last minute they decided to move the game up to Witter. And, yeah, it's pouring, so our senior game just ended up being, our parents, we took one picture and everyone's like, yay, and then like next person. And I mean, it's funny to look back on because it was miserable in that sense. Like, you can hit a long ball and it would almost come back to you because it was so windy and so raining. But I mean, we ended up winning the game, so, and it's a fun experience. But
yeah, I mean, for starters, I'm glad you got to play in it. And then I think back then the borders were still closed. So your family, who was your family that went with you?
Well, my parents actually, because they could get into Canada, and if they quarantined there for 14 days, they could get into the U.S. that way. So they were actually here. They came in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they came in a couple of days earlier, so they were there, and then Whitney and Kaylee went on the field with me, took a picture, so that was really cute. Yeah.
I thought it was only Whitney and Kaylee that were there. Yeah. But that's really nice that all of them got to be there with like your parents included as well. From this entire season, maybe not the end result you would have wanted in terms of how the season went, in terms of how your Cal career ended with this season. What's your biggest takeaway from this specific season, the obstacle that you faced, and how things worked out?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I think just patience. Like, I learned a lot how to deal with the mental side of it and how to stay patient and stay focused on the right thing and the things that I could actually control and the things that I couldn't control. So just focusing on doing all my exercises and working out, so when I actually did get better, I was fit enough to play. And I think if I can pat myself on the back, I think I did that because
it's focusing on the things you can't control and ignoring the rest. I just posted a video on my story, I think yesterday, and it's Gary V just talking, and he says, like, every day is a good day. That's the title of the video. And he says that, I mean, our chances of being born are 400 trillion to 1, which is a ridiculous number to think of. And he says, like, there's 850 million people that don't have access to clean water on this earth. Why am I upset about my meeting getting canceled? Yeah. And it's crazy to put things into perspective that way. I mean, this year, especially 2020, was a very tough year for everyone. And when we think about the things that we get upset about, whether it be soccer or school or like stressing about a letter grade on a test, it's like, whoa. Let's take a moment to take a look back. And it's not to belittle the struggles that you went through, but it's something I've had in mind because of that video, how it's like, whoa. We should put things into perspective and love everything that happens, because in a way, if you wouldn't have gone through that, you wouldn't have learned patience. And maybe right now it's frustrating, but you don't know where Emma will be in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years and what your pro career may present. And just thinking like, wow, the patience I learned in my senior year at Cal is helping me out now.
Yeah.
Maybe that could happen. I'm not sure.
Definitely. And I just, with the head stuff, I mean, I've gone through this now, and I definitely know if I would go through it again, then I've done it and I know how to handle it better. So at least it's a learning experience.
See, there's something good that came out for it, and you're prepared for whatever is next. And talking about that, what is next? What's next for you in your journey?
Yeah, that is currently a little bit up in the air. I've always thought that I would go back and play in Sweden. It's been absolutely amazing being here, but being a little closer to family, and I've always thought that I would play pro in Europe. But I mean, if the opportunity would present here in the NWSL, I would definitely not be opposed to it. But it's frightening not knowing exactly what you're gonna do, but at the same time, it's exciting too that your life can take so many different directions from here on.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of opportunities, whether it's NWSL or playing in the Swedish team that you were on, or hopefully one day playing in England like we've talked about before.
Yes, Liverpool.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to say that because you don't know what team could pick you up.
True.
I'm going to save this clip and we'll see where you end up playing. We'll see what team you end up playing for. But yeah, we know you're a Liverpool fan. That's going to be funny in the future.
That is going to be funny.
But with that being said, if for some reason the pro situation does or doesn't work out like precisely the way you wanted it to, is there anything you'd want to do with data science or your business major? Because I mean, at the end of the day, you're a great soccer player. You can do anything you want at this point going forward, whether it's NWSL in Europe or wherever. Mm-hmm. But you still have a double major from Berkeley and two amazing majors. So do you have any plans for that at some point in life or not really?
My plan now was always, I've always had something else other than soccer to focus on in terms of education. And I just kind of wanted to try out what it would be like to just play soccer for a while. So I've kind of haven't thought too much about I don't want to say an actual job because playing soccer is an actual job, but what I'm studying for. But definitely since I'm doing data science, there's soccer analytics that you could go into, which is an exciting field. If I would want to do that on the side, that would be kind of a cool combination to do. But then when my career ends at 30 or whenever, I guess I'll take it from there because I love the soccer part of it, but I don't know if I want to go into being a coach or doing that. I feel like I want to do something with what I've actually studied.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's obviously respectable and acceptable. It's not for everyone to want to coach, and I don't even know if I'd do that, but it's always great to have that backup plan with the two great majors that you have and hopefully using them someday for something that you like.
And I mean that was the plan too with coming here and having that if soccer for some reason wouldn't work out, if you get injured or something happens, then having that to rely on and being able to use your education to work with something that you really love, then that would be great.
So that's why you came here and you're leaving with it. So,
right.
So that really worked out for you. But talking about the things you're leaving with, obviously I know that if you were to decide to come to the U.S. for the first time again, you would. But with that being said, biggest takeaway from Cal Women's Soccer, from your Cal experience, and from college in the U.S.?
Oh, God.
Individually.
Individually, all three?
Yeah.
Biggest takeaway from Cal Women's Soccer is a great team in terms of being with people that you like is a game changer. Because if I didn't have the people on the team, then I wouldn't be here right now. And just I love every one of them, and I've heard other people that have been on teams that they haven't felt comfortable with and they have not had the same experience that I have. So definitely being in an environment around you where you can trust people and that you have fun with. That's the biggest takeaway from that. What was the second one?
Cal experience.
Oh, just wow. I just love this place. I love the Bay Area, love the weather. We got to talk about the weather because back home, I mean, I love snow and winter and all of that, but the fact that it's, okay, let's see, Fahrenheit, probably 70 degrees in November, like that's great.
Yeah.
Back home it's freezing. And just like food culture, everything around Cal, classes, great education. I don't know if there's one thing, just the whole experience and school spirit that I really like.
And the last one was college in the US, stepping out of your comfort zone to do this.
Oh yeah, I've learned so much. I think the biggest thing is just meeting so many different people, because in Sweden it's not as diverse in that sense, and just hearing people with different stories, I've definitely got a better understanding where some people are coming from and how just like I've learned a lot from different people, and it's so interesting coming here and maybe being a little close-minded and now just understanding better about different places. So definitely that.
Open-minded towards everything now,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently, because we're close-minded and we're against things, and it's like we don't even know them, we haven't even tried them, like
Yeah.
why are we against them? And it's just something I've been questioning a lot, and it makes sense to be from a different place and come here and
Yeah.
expand your thoughts and your mind and opinions. So that's great.
It's also a lot of good things here, but it's also made me appreciate home in a different ways, because some things that I took for granted at home that you guys don't have here, I'm like, oh. So like coming back, I'll definitely be able to appreciate some stuff a lot too. So that's
That happens
great.
with me all the time, especially food. It's like, oh, I'm so glad I'm home, you know?
But the food here is great, don't you think? Okay,
It's
well,
not as
maybe.
good as home.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's just me. But it is good food around here. I mean, the restaurants here in Berkeley are very nice.
Yeah.
But nothing is like home for me. So, but that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that I missed out on, or something you want to mention?
No, I think this is good.
Well, it's crazy to think I was writing this down, and it's crazy to think that we're recording this on Wednesday the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
In a week and 2 days from now, we're saying
Don't
goodbye.
say it. Don't say
I
it.
know, it's weird though. Obviously I pretty much met you this year. Crazy to think that it's been less than a calendar year
Yeah.
since we met. But yeah, it's pretty much almost goodbye. You're graduating, like walking, like
Mm-hmm.
everything. Not this weekend, but the next.
Mm-hmm.
This episode is coming out early in 2022. So if not the first week, the second. And yeah, I'm just gonna say that I'm glad we met. I'm glad we got to do this again, because the first time it didn't work out. So thank you for that, and I hope to see you when I'm on the other side of the pond. Hopefully in 2022.
Yes, come visit.
Yeah, I've never been to Sweden.
You gotta go.
I know. No, I definitely will, and I mean, if I go, it's for sure gonna be Stockholm is gonna be one of the stops, and
Go in the summer.
Okay.
Go
yes.
in the summer.
Yeah, that is important. But yes, I will keep you posted on that. Hopefully we can see each other then, and I can't wait to see what the future has in store for you, whether it's NWSL or Sweden or anywhere else. I'm really excited for you and for your journey, the same way I am for your entire class. Obviously it's a class I'm close to because I've lived with them and gotten to know you guys through that. So very thankful for you guys and everything you've done. Very thankful for you and your friendship, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Right back at you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And to everyone that watched on YouTube or listened on Spotify, thank you so much. Click the subscribe button, click the like button, follow my podcast. Share this with anyone you think would enjoy it as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure to subscribe to my podcast and follow me on my personal social media accounts for more. All at Fer Andraes. All links are in the description. If this episode inspired you in any way, please help me out by sharing it with a friend to help them leave their dent in the universe as well. That's it for today. I'll see you all next time.